The time is 5 p.m. on Info Giant 97.1 FM.
No, so what do you use for program?
Yes.
What do I say?
Mauto, this is not bringing share again. Okay.
Well-being and the development of your community. Then don't miss our Friday weekly well-being and the development of your community. Then don't miss our Friday weekly radio program designed to inform you, educate, and empower you. So join us every Friday at 5 p.m. on Info Giant 97.1 FM as we part 4 students of the Department of Communication and Media Studies of Bafemi Awolowo University present experts to share practical knowledge, tips, and real-life solutions that can help us build a healthier society. Stay informed, stay empowered, stay connected.
Still have to.
Is it
Come on.
Good evening, listeners. You're tuned into Info Giant 97.1 FM. Welcome to another episode of Our Health, Our Priority. On today's edition, we will be talking about gender-based violence, which is a prevalent issue in the society. And this program is brought to you by the 400 level students of the Department of Communication and Media Studies of Bafemi Awolowo University. I am your host for today, Oluwatamilore Grace Aboluware.
Ẹ kú dédé wòyí ẹ̀yin ará ilé. Info Giant 97.1 FM náà láti ń gbóhùn sáfẹ́fẹ́ lórí ètò ìlera wa ìgbáyégbádùn ẹ̀dá tí ó wá láti ọwọ́ àwọn ọmọ ọdún kẹrin iléèwé gíga Ọbáfẹ́mi Awólọ́wọ̀. Ẹ̀ka ti ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ àti ìkẹ́kọ̀ọ́ ìròyìn. Orúkọ tèmi ni Michael Aróyèhùn. Ẹ máa bá wa kálọ.
Ẹ̀fọn tó gbòòrò ọdún lọ́wọ́ àwọn tó rẹ̀rọ. Kẹ́tù lè gbọ́ tó sàbùn tọkọ. Ilé ẹ̀sìn ṣe bọ̀ ní ìlú àyíká.
listeners, you're tuned into Info Giants 97.1 FM. Welcome to another edition of our Health Our Priority, brought to you by the 400 level students of the Department of Communication and Media Studies of Bafemi Awolowo University. On today's edition of our Health Our Priority, we'll be talking about a prevalent issue in the society, gender-based violence. I am your host for today, Oluwatamilore Grace Aboluware.
Ẹ kú dédé wòyí ẹ̀yin ará alẹ́. Info Giant 97.1 FM láti ń gbóhùn sáfẹ́fẹ́ lórí ètò ìlera wa àti ìgbáyégbádùn ẹ̀dá tí ó wá láti ọwọ́ àwọn ọmọléèwé ọdún kẹrin Ọbáfẹ́mi Awólọ́wọ̀ ẹ̀ka ti ìgbóhùnsáfẹ́fẹ́ àti ẹ̀kọ́ni ìbánisọ̀rọ̀. Lórí ètò wa lónìí la máa gbé yẹ̀wò ìwà ipá láàrin akọ àti abo eléyìí tí a ń pè ní gender based violence. Ẹ máa bá wa kálọ.
To aid our discussion today, we have with us an expert in the studio, an expert in the field of community rights advocacy and everything that has to do with the unfair treatment of men and women. Good evening, Mr. Emmanuel. Thank you for joining us today.
Good evening. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so we'd like you to tell us more about who you are and what you do.
All right. So good evening once again. I'm Meminike Emmanuel, a graduate of Obafemi Awolowo University from the Department of Sociology and Anthropology. I'm also a community rights advocate in Osun State, as well as a state coordinator of a youth-led organization, EPIN. Yeah, and I'm also privileged to be seated in the Gender and Human Rights team for Osun State as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel. It is a privilege to have you with us in the studio also. So to begin with, people often hear the term gender-based violence, but might not have the knowledge of what it is about. So could you shed more light on what gender-based violence is?
All right, thank you so much. So when you hear gender-based violence here, whenever I want to discuss about this, I like to first expatiate on what gender is, right? Because when we have that broad overview of what gender is, when we talk about gender-based violence, we then have the clearer picture about it.
Yes.
So gender as a whole refers to socially constructed roles, behaviors, expressions, right? As well as gender identity that is created by society to define who a guy, male, female, man or woman is, right? So now when we come to the term gender, and not just that, gender also covers other gender diversities. So which is covered under the umbrella of LGBTQI, yes, because they are also humans and they also fall under gender, right? And believe me, I'm sure you know that we have more than just two genders.
Well, if you like to say it that way.
All right, yeah, that's actually the truth. That's what we have in society.
Okay.
Right, so to that end, I go to explain what gender-based violence is.
Okay.
Now, so gender-based violence will now refer to harmful acts, right, that is exhibited or done.
Fún àwọn ará ilé tí wọn ò rí fìtì, nǹkan tí àlejò wa ń sọ ni pé kí a tó sọ nípa ìwà ipá láàrin akọ àti abo, a ní láti yànnàná tó ń jẹ́ ẹ̀yà tí àwa ènìyàn jẹ́ gangan, eléyìí tí a mọ̀ sí akọni, abo ni. Àlejò wa tún jẹ́ kó yé wa pé lásìkò tá a wà a ti ní àwọn tó tún ju akọ tàbí abo lọ, eléyìí tí a ń pè ní LGBTQ community. Eléyìí tí ó sì mọ̀ pé tá a sì mọ̀ pé kò sí bá a ṣe fẹ́ sọ lódìdí àti láàbọ̀, a ní láti yànnàná wọn láti ìbẹ̀rẹ̀ dé parí. Eléyìí ni kókó nǹkan tí àlejò wa sọ. Ẹ máa bá wa ká.
Also, Mr. Emmanuel, for the longest of times, I thought that gender-based violence is mostly about physical abuse. But growing up, I found that it is not just limited to physical abuse. So, what other forms could gender-based violence come in?
Okay, so thank you so much for that question. Now, when we talk about gender-based violence, it comes in different forms. Apart from the physical aspect of it, there is a sexual part, like sexual-based violence, right? There's also psychological or verbal abuse too as well, right? We also have economic abuse as a part of gender-based violence. We also have what we call, the most recent one is what we call digital or tech.
Like cyberbullying.
Yeah, cyberbullying. Oh yeah, that also exists as a form of gender-based violence. I'll have more of that also. It's not just limited to the ones I mentioned.
Okay,
yes.
Nǹkan tí àlejò wa sọ ni wípé ìwà ipá láàrin akọ àti abo kò ń ṣe ọ̀rọ̀ nípa àfojúrí nìkan bí kò ṣe nípa ọkàn eléyìí tí a mọ̀ sí emotional effect àti bí kò ṣe nípa ọkàn àti àìfojúrí eléyìí tí a mọ̀ sí psychological effect too. So wọ́n jẹ́ kó yé wa wípé eléyìí pọ̀ lóríṣiríṣi ọ̀nà tí àwọn àlejò wa fi lè tí àwọn ènìyàn fi lè ní ìrírí lórí ìwà ipá láàrin akọ àti abo.
Thank you very much for staying with us. We'll be going on a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing the effects of gender-based violence.
To speak in the for the recording. Yeah. I mean, you are using the monitor to record the sound. Sound like this one. It is from you are using monitor or what?
No, we're not using it. We're not using it. Where is it?
What do you want to do?
Why is it writing that? Why is it writing this?
No, because I'm using last name.
Hey, why is it? Is it working?
Yeah, it's working now.
Thank you for staying with us. If you are just joining us, you're still tuned into Info Giant 97.1 FM, and we are currently on the discussion about gender-based violence. And now, Mr. Emmanuel, the same way someone would limit gender-based violence to physical abuse alone is also the same way would limit the effect of it to physical injuries. So beyond physical injuries, what other effects could gender-based violence take psychologically, emotionally, and all of that?
All right. So, starting from the peak of the effect of gender-based violence, the effect, right, is that it could drive a person to committing suicide. And we've had a lot of cases in regards to that, where people have been abused. You know, when people's words towards individuals, towards people, abusive words, derogatory terms towards individuals, they feel, oh, it's just a normal thing. Well, no, it's not normal. It affects the person's psychology, right? And this has driven a lot of young people precisely, right, to committing suicide. And apart from that, we have the other effects like exclusion. The individual get to just exclude themselves from society, keep to oneself, regardless of the bad things they've been facing. And you know, this effect also comes out of a place where a person cries out for help and is being shut up.
Yeah.
Now, imagine a young child reports to his or her mom, right, that, oh, this uncle is touching me in a way I don't like. Right. And funny enough, you hear the mom say funny things like some moms, well, like, you don't know what you're saying. Shut up. How can Uncle So be touching you? And we've had repeated cases of rape of minors. And these guys spoke up, and when these children eventually grow up, they become timid, they become segregated, they segregate themselves from society, they begin to have suicidal thoughts and a lot of other things that could. I am just speaking the advanced cases, making us see how much gender-based violence can cause to individuals, precisely young people, right? And not just to young people, it also affects the older ones too as well. A whole lot, emotionally, psychologically. It goes a very long way. Thank you.
Nǹkan tí àlejò wa ń sọ látòórọ̀ ni pé àwọn ìpalára tí ìwà ipá láàrin akọ àti abo tó ní lórí àwọn ọ̀dọ́, wọ́n jẹ́ kó yé wa pé kò ń ṣe ọ̀dọ́ nìkan ni ìpalára yìí wà fún, ó wà fún àwọn àgbàlagbà náà. Eléyìí tó jẹ́ pé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ tiẹ̀ lè para wọn nítorí ìrírí tán ti ní lórí ìwà ipá láàrin akọ àti abo, yálà lọ́kùnrin yálà lóbìnrin. Ó sì jẹ́ kó yé wa wípé ìwà ipá yìí ó jẹ́ nǹkan tí òun tán bí èèyàn ṣe ń dàgbà sí, ó máa ń bá èèyàn dàgbà ni. So wọ́n jẹ́ kó yé wa pé àwọn oríṣiríṣi ọ̀nà ni àwọn òbí, àwọn olùkọ́ àti àwọn akẹ́kọ̀ọ́ fúnra wọn lè lò láti lè jẹ́ agbẹnusọ fún ọmọlàkejì wọn kí a lè dẹ́kun ìwà ipá láàrin akọ àti abo.
Mr. Emmanuel, the response you gave earlier led to this question, or is leading to this question. So you know how parents might shut up their children when they're like complaining about these things. Same way society might also stigmatize them, which might not allow that these victims come out and say that they are going through this, they are going through that. How do we see to it, or how do we help these victims come out of what it is they are going through and like talk about it?
All right, so thank you so much for that question. Now, to start with, the very first positive step is what we are doing here: public sensitization.
Okay.
Right? Where we get to tell people about their rights, let them understand how that when they are faced with these abuses, they actually have a right to speak up. And I'm opportune to be one of the individuals that could be spoken to when it comes to people that have cases like this.
Yeah.
Right? I'm a community rights advocate. So what am I on the lookout for are issues of this matter that would pick it up and speak to it. Now, apart from that, we could utilize the educational system.
Okay.
Right now, this is in regards to parents. Right? We have teachers could be trained, well trained about how to handle gender-based violences and the reports that they get from younger ones. Because these young children have issues that they've been facing, abuses from people, mostly people that are even closest to them. Right? So when these things happen, let me use the school example for the school as an example. When it happens in the school settings, right? When parents come to school for PTA meetings, right? These teachers that have been trained in handling gender-based violence issues should also speak to the parents.
Okay.
Right? And also, such should also go to the religious aspect of it as well, where the pastors, the imams get to speak about this in the churches, in the mosques, right? Sensitize people, let them see that they can actually report these things and educate parents and society on how to listen to their children whenever they speak to them, and to people generally when they are faced with issues.
So sensitization is not just limited to the victims, but also to like parents and religious
Exactly, to
leaders.
general public. It has to be an holistic sensitization. And also, let me put this in: the radio station catches more of the elderlies, right? And we are the Gen Zs, like we clock it every time, right? Now, how do we do our clock it consistently? Is by also employing the social media. Right, effective use of social media to communicate these things, to speak to it, to let people. In fact, the social media is more like what's this term now? More like a court,
Okay.
right? Where people can actually throw in their grievance, pick it up from there with followers and all, and people get to hear about it and justice is served.
Ẹ kú bẹ̀ ṣe ń bí tó bọ̀ ẹ̀yin ará lé. Tí àlejò wa ń gbọ̀n yẹn náà ni pé àwọn ọ̀nà tá a fi lè dẹ́kun ìwà ipá láàrin akọ àti abo. Wọ́n jẹ́ kó yé wa pé àwọn ilé ìjọsìn, ilé ìwé, àárín àwọn ìyálọ́jà, gbogbo ẹni tó wà láwùjọ ló ní ipa láti kó láti lè dẹ́kun ìwà ipá láàrin akọ àti abo.
Thank you very much for staying with us. We'll be going on a short break right now. When we come back, we'll be discussing preventive methods against gender-based violence.
Your chair. You're moving your chair too much. Can talk. What do you want? So don't move the chair. Your chair is making noise.
Why did you show my back up? We can't take back up.
my back call.
So that.
What you receive call? So
You're still tuned in to Info Giants 97.1 FM, and what we'll be talking about is gender-based violence, the reasons behind it, the effects of it, and now we're moving on to discussing the preventive measures. What can we do to stop the practice of gender-based violence, physical abuse, emotional abuse, and everything that it could entail? Mr. Emmanuel, thank you very much for all of the brilliant answers that you've been giving since the start of the program. So now, in discussing the preventive measures, what do you think that government agencies, educational bodies, religious bodies, what do you think that they can do to stop it? There is the awareness part, yes, but like what practical steps can these organizations engage in to make sure that this practice is totally abolished?
All right, thank you so much for that. And I'm so happy as the question was also directed to the government bodies.
Yes.
Right? Now, one of the major steps that can be done, which they've actually done it in the part of making policies. Right? We have effective policies in Nigeria. Right? Although one other issue we have, apart from the policies that we have, is the people and the forces and how they respond to cases of gender-based violence. Now, let me give a very good example. Whenever we hear about gender-based violence, what comes to the mind is, oh, a woman is being abused. Mostly.
Yes.
Right? However, guys too get abused. Children, boys get abused. Right? Grown-up men get abused too as well. Now, imagine a grown-up man coming to the police station to report that his wife beats him. No, you laughed, right? Now, that's how the police officers will laugh at the man and say, oh, Ben, you're so Jerry. Like, do you get now? And will rubbish the man. And this man will have to go back home and suffer and keep suffering from being beaten by his wife. Now, so police officers need to be trained in their rest and how they receive complaints about gender-based violence. We have the gender unit in the police department. They need to stand up and ensure that they are very accommodative in this case, and they sit up to ensuring that it's not just about reporting these cases, it's about ensuring that justice is served. Now, another reason why people stop people reporting cases of gender-based violence is because when they speak up at times, they get shut up and nothing is being done. Now, but when they speak up and justice is served, the perpetrators will have to stop. And more to this, speaking in regards to policies too as well. During my introduction, I spoke about gender, right, and also made mention of the LGBTQI community, right. This is also something that the law has kind of missed out, in that aspect, because in Nigeria we have, I'm coming to somewhere, right. We have the homosexual law, right, that says, a man and a man, right, cannot have sexual relations, or a female and a female, right. Now, however, we've had cases of abuses, gender-based violence that have been tailored towards the key population, people call them key population, the LGBTQI, right? For example, imagine a guy being lured by his fellow guy and he's being raped. Whenever these cases get to the police station, it's always being dragged under the carpet. Why? Because they assume that the guy had a sexual relation. Meanwhile, the guy was raped. I don't know if you get where I'm coming to. Now, so these laws has to be reviewed because these guys are humans and they suffer from these consequences because of what the law presents to them. So these people, whenever a case of such comes up in their midst, they get to just keep it to themselves, which is not meant to be. Justice is meant to be served regardless of who the person is. And that's why we have what we call the fundamental human right, which speaks to all individuals, inclusive of LGBT community, because they are humans too as well. So the law has a long way to play, and in the midst of that, while the law is playing its part, every other aspect of society and every weight of sensitization needs to go through to ensure that whenever a case of this comes up, it's handled with so much so much prudence to see it. Because now the thing is this: these perpetrators, whenever they get to hear that they are being punished severely for their crimes, believe you me, the rate of gender-based violence is going to reduce.
Yes.
Now, let me just point this out as well as one of preventing, because I made mention of sensitization enlightenment. So let me just throw this into as well. We have a part of the VAP law that speaks to if a husband, maybe his wife misbehaves and he throws her out of the house because of her misbehavior. Do you know that under the VAP law, that's very wrong?
Oh.
Very wrong. And the woman in her mind will begin to feel, oh, I need to call the neighborhood to come beg my husband. No, that's your house. You're legally married to the man. If she's legally married to the man, she has the right to stay in the house. You can't just wake up one day because of your wife's behavior and throw her out of the house. So this is one of, I just gave an example of a means of enlightenment that people don't know. So when people are enlightened about this, they get to caution themselves in how they act. Same too goes to landlords that just come away for one morning and don't feel like they can discharge their tenants without proper time frame by law to do so. So, thank you.
Nǹkan tí àlejò wa ń sọ lórí ọ̀nà àti dènà ìwà ipá láàrin akọ àti abo ni pé ìjọba náà ní ipa tó máa kó lórí ọ̀rọ̀ náà. Wọ́n bẹ̀rẹ̀ pẹ̀lú pé kí ìyàwó ilé kí ọkọ ilé lọ fẹjọ́ sùn pé ìyàwó ilé náà, bí mo ṣe ń sọ ẹ̀ mọ̀ pé ìyàrá ilé náà ti máa rẹ́rìn-ín lé pé bó ló ṣe lọ máa fẹjọ́ sùn pé ìyàwó rẹ̀ náà. So tó bá tún dé ilé ọ̀dọ̀ àwọn ọlọ́pàá náà, nǹkan máa tún fi sọ ni pé èbí kí nìwọ náà ń wo ọkùnrin ṣọ́kùnrin kọ́ ni ọ̀nì tíyàwó rẹ̀ náà. Ó tún jẹ́ kó yé wa pé ipa tí àwọn ìjọba ní láti kó ni pé àwọn landlord ni o, àwọn ayálégbé ni o, oníṣọ́ọ̀bù ni o, olùkọ́ iléèwé ni o àti akẹ́kọ̀ọ́, gbogbo wa la ní ipa láti kó lórí ọ̀rọ̀ náà. A sì gbọ́dọ̀ jẹ́ kí ẹnìkan lo ọwọ́ agbára eléyìí tí òfin ò fààyè gbà lórí wa, torí tá a bá gbójú kúrò lórí àwọn nǹkan tí ó ń dá ìwà ipá sílẹ̀ yìí, àní mọ ọ̀nà tá a fi lè yanjú ẹ̀ láwùjọ wa. Kókó nǹkan tí àlejò wa ń sọ náà nìyẹn.
Thank you very much for staying with us this far. Now we'll be accepting phone calls. If you've been listening to us from the start of the program and you have questions and comments for the guest, kindly reach out to us on this number 0812 672 8417. 0812 672 8417.
Fún àwọn aráalé tí wọ́n ti ń bá wa bọ̀ látòórọ̀ tí wọ́n sì fẹ́ dá sétò náà, nọ́mbà tẹ́ lè pè sí ni 0812 672 8417. Lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí 0812 672 8417.
Hello, good evening. Can you tell us your name and where you're calling from and your question?
My name is Damilola, calling from Modo.
Hi, Damilola. Thank you for joining us. So, what questions do you have for our guest today?
My question is, this of women stay in abusive marriage just because they depend on their husband, they can't live abusive marriage for them. So, what do you want to think for those kind of?
Hi, Ms. Damilola. Please, can you take your question again? We lost Ms. Damilola on that one. Mr. Emmanuel, thank you very much for coming on this program with us.
Well, I think I kind of heard what she said a bit.
Okay.
Right. If I was correct, I can't remember the person's name. But okay, Ms. Damilola speaking towards a person being in an abusive relationship and wanting to leave, and it's also a question of economic crisis for the woman in question, right? So what I would say to such a person is that report that man in regards to his abusive acts towards the person, his partner in that relationship. Now, two, after we've seen to that justice is checked in that aspect. Two is that as a woman, not just as a woman, as humans, as young people, we should also do well, apart from just going to school, also do well to develop ourselves in skills, soft skills, through which we can actually make a living through that. Yeah, so with that, you can boldly leave any relationship if you are being maltreated, and because you obviously know you can take care of yourself without the man.
Thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel. We've finally come to the end of our Health Our Priority. Join us same time next week for another interesting episode. I remain Oluwatamilore Grace Aboluwarin.
A dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ àwọn aráalé tó ti ń bá wa bọ̀ látìgbà tá a ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ ètò wa ìlera wa ìgbáyégbádùn ẹ̀dá. A sì lérò pé lọ́sẹ̀ tó ń bọ̀ á tún bá yín, ẹ sì wà pẹ̀lú wa títí dé ìparí. Orúkọ tèmi ni Michael Aróyèhùn. A dúpẹ́.
Má ṣe lókun, without doctor's prescription.